My students often ask me, why do I need to read in English? I go to class, do my homework, and watch movies in English. Isn't that enough? Actually, reading is the best way to get better at English, and I will explain why. First, reading is very important. In the past, 1 in 4 people went to college, but now, even more people do. Most jobs today need more reading and writing skills than in the past. This is true for everyone, whether you work in an office or as a technician. Second, reading helps you improve your speaking, writing, vocabulary, and grammar better than anything else. While it might not help your listening directly, it will make your vocabulary stronger. When you know more words, listening becomes easier. In school, you might have read boring textbooks and stories with exercises, but I'm not talking about that. I mean reading for fun. This means reading a book you like because you enjoy it, not because your teacher told you to read it. In an experiment in schools in America, they gave boys fun books like spy stories. They told the boys they could read what they wanted. The boys read a lot. Some even read a book every 2 days. Later, when they took a test, those who read the fun books were better at reading and writing and liked school more. The boys who didn't read the fun books did not improve. This isn't just for native speakers. They did a study with students learning English in Fiji. They tried 3 ways to teach: normal English classes, silent reading, and group reading where the teacher read to students. After a year, the students who read more did better than those in normal classes. They repeated this study in Singapore, where students who read silently did very well. Those students scored higher on grammar tests than others who only had grammar classes. In regular classes, we often try to remember grammar and vocabulary, but when we read, we learn them naturally. Maybe you think reading in English is too hard. I have to use a dictionary all the time. It's boring. I understand. That's why I wrote this book. I hope it makes you enjoy reading because the stories are simple and fun. The early stories are short and easy, and the latter ones get longer and a bit harder. When you finish, you'll feel proud. I only make a podcast called English Listening Practice. Some stories in this book were made for the podcast. I improved those stories for this book. You can read stories at beginner, pre-intermediate, intermediate, or advanced levels. The stories are all fairy tales, some popular, some not so well known, and one I wrote myself. You might think fairy tales are just for kids and want to learn useful vocabulary for business or science, but the words in these stories can be helpful. An expert named McQuillan found that 8% of the words in novels are on important academic word lists. Another study showed that if students read a lot of science fiction, they learn important science words for college. So yes, fairy tales can be useful too. I know it's hard to believe. When I learned this, I was skeptical, but I love trying new things and learning languages. In 2017, I wanted to learn Spanish. I said to myself, I will learn 1 million words in Spanish. That's about 40 novels. So it was a big challenge. I started with easy books, then translation of stories I knew in English, like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. After that, I read new books by Latin American authors. I loved them. I also listened to podcasts and read the transcripts, adding new words to my list. After reading a million words, I could talk to native speakers and understand almost everything. You might be thinking, I don't believe this. Or, I want to read for hours. But there's an important point. You must read easy and fun books. If a book is too hard or boring, put it down and find another one. Expert Stephen Krashen says to only read things in English that are fun and interesting. Choose easy books you wouldn't normally read in your own language. When you read very easy books, you'll understand the meaning of new words without needing a dictionary. So, what is easy? Studies show you should understand at least 98% of the words in the text. Let me give you an example. Here's a text where half the words aren't real. Jerry fled out of bed and opened the curtains. He blamed himself as he made breakfast. He made coffee and put butter on his puffer. Someone called his phone, and he picked it up. He was very surprised by who was tingling, so his inky fell on the floor. Could you read a whole book like that? Now, here's the same idea, but with only 2% of the words being made up. Jerry jumped out of bed and opened the curtains. He sang to himself as he made breakfast. He made coffee and put butter on his toast. Someone called his phone, and he picked it up. He was very surprised by who was calling, so his inky fell on the floor. You probably understood more of this, right? It was easier and more enjoyable to read than the first text. That's why reading for fun is so great. You might not get every word, but you understand enough to follow the story. If you find this book too hard, read something easier. If it's boring, look for something more fun. Not everyone likes my writing, and that's okay. Find a book that you enjoy. When we have fun, we learn much more. This book has no exercises because I want you to enjoy it. I thought about adding exercises after each story, but I believe it's better to just read more for fun. If you finish this book, try the next level. Since you know the stories, it will be easier to understand. I hope you end up loving stories. If you want to read more, listen to my podcast, English Listening Practice. I write a new story every week, and there are over 100 episodes to help you improve. Let's listen to this story together, and it will help your English speaking skills a lot. Do you want to speak English more fluently? The English language changed my life. I was born in Hong Kong, so English isn't my first language. Cantonese is. I also speak Mandarin because my mother is from Taiwan. And then I learned English. When I first moved to North America, I couldn't speak any English. Many of my fans listen to my videos because they want to learn to speak English, and I find that interesting. So today, I want to share 5 steps to improve your English fluency. 5 things that helped me learn. Step 1. Don't worry too much. Speak whenever and wherever you can. It doesn't matter if you have an accent. I still have an accent, and I talk to millions of people every month. Forget what others think. Just speak. If someone doesn't understand you, say it again. Keep trying. Step 2. Immerse yourself. When I learned English, I listened to music every day. I sang along and watched English movies without subtitles. At first, I only understood a little, but as I practiced, I understood more and more. So, talk in English, listen to music, and watch movies to learn naturally. Step 3. Make it fun. Don't think of learning as a chore. Talk to people, read, watch, and listen in a way that you enjoy. That's how you improve. Step 4. Hang out with English speakers. I remember in college, Many students only spoke with their own language groups. I did the opposite. I made friends with English speakers and talked to them as much as possible. Step 5. Be open to corrections. When someone corrects your English or pronunciation, be grateful. It helps you learn. Here's a bonus tip. Overlearn. If you want to get better, push yourself a little more than you think you can handle. You might feel stuck sometimes. This is called the intermediate plateau. Many learners experience it. You can speak and understand, but you want to feel as free with English as in your native language. I have my own story of learning English. I started at 15 with no knowledge of the language. I took a course and studied hard. I read old textbooks and practiced alone for 3 years. When at 18, I got a job at a store. I became the English helper there. Every time a foreign customer came, they called for me. I talked to them, and they corrected my mistakes. This helped my speaking skills a lot. I suggest you keep learning. Find job opportunities to use your English daily, and create your own immersion. Make it a part of your daily life. Finally, I started teaching English at 21. Teaching helped me improve even more because I had to prepare and understand things better to help my students. Learning a language is a journey, and I hope my story gives you ideas and motivations for your own English path.